On 23 May 2011, Transnet Freight Rail embarked on an unusual project. A 20-day shutdown of its coal line that stretches from the inland coal fields on the Highveld down to the coal export terminal in Richards Bay. It is an unusual period of shutdown, being twice as long as a routine shutdown, and the first time ever as such embarked upon. This longer duration expedited many capacity building projects that were in the pipeline. We follow the story of the shutdown of this special chromium magnesium 60 kg per meter rail in a chronological order by first visiting the tracks at Webbsrus on day 2 of the shutdown, and begin, as all contractors and employees do, with a safety induction session. After our session, we chat with safety specialist Soki Manyaka.
The safety within this shutdown is that I'm responsible for the infra, which is electrical, signals and pairway, and also we've got the contractors underneath them. What we do induction for them within the area where they will be working. We tell them what is our expectations from them in terms of safety, and then as you said, we talk about the substance abuse. We talked about the task observation responsibly from their supervisors. So we need to know what's going on. I just ensure their safety within the area in terms of compliance. At that point, I'm based here in Midpoint, but during the day, I move to other points to check their level of compliance. What can we find solution for other areas if there are some deviations? We work on that. By the end of this shutdown, what we are hoping to achieve is an incident-free shutdown. That's what we are hoping to find. From the start on the 23rd, we didn't have a problem at all. The problem or the hiccups we had is just arrivals, but we are geared to work it up until the last day. So safety-wise, we are on the right path. For me, it's normal for humans to slip up, but I did expect that, but it's not happening as I did expect, which means they know what is expected of them. Because now I've been to certain areas, like I've been to Brosnaya, I've been to here Midpoint to Webbsrus. Nothing sinister is happening. If they see me, they don't panic. They just see a human body, a person who's working with us. So there's not much we can say. There is bigger deviations we can talk about. Those are the minor issues whereby you can find people not having his goggles, whereby he's cutting, whereby there are objects which can flying objects. Then that we talk about that, we ensure that this is his safety. As you know, our safety, my safety, your safety.
A track stabilizer and ballast regulator machine are working the area after recent track repairs. The coal line consists mainly of 2 tracks, one for the fully laden downhaul and the other for the uphaul. The fully laden track, capable of 26-ton axle loads, occasionally follows its own diversions due to its maximum gradient specification of 1:160. Teams do electrical maintenance and freshen up with a new coat of paint while a rail grinder works its way down the track. This machine reshapes the rail profile to the design target profile, increasing the life of the rails and creating a path that locomotives and wagon wheels on self-steering bogies can run smoothly on. From Webbsrus, we move down southeast. Consulting the infrastructure maintenance plan for the shutdown, we focus on a capital project number 3421658, depicted here in a dark pink color. This project is for the upgrading of the high voltage switching arrangement in the C&D changeover yards at Ermelo. Here we find overhead track equipment work being carried out by teams as the sun begins to set on the day. This work is being carried out to extend the reliability of the C&D yards and its electrical changeover distribution. Once this project is complete, any faults on the electrical subsystem will be more readily identified and have far less impact on the overall serviceability of the entire yard. 11 kilovolt cable work is done under the skilled attention of high tension riggers and many hands assisting. We will visit this site on a later day to check on progress. Next, our attention moves to project number ET004 on the infrastructure maintenance plan. This work is located in a northwest direction in the Black Hill area. Here on day 3 of the shutdown, we find a contractor operating a small ballast screener with his own set of problems. The screener's pull-through teeth has a jam, and all hands on deck are seeing to the problem. Safety under these high-stress conditions is of paramount concern to all involved. A little further up the track, fresh copper wire is being installed to feeder wires from a substation as part of scheduled maintenance work. And ceramic insulators are replaced or serviced where necessary. The entire line is supplied with 3-phase power from 4 major substations at 400 kilovolt and 88 kilovolt. The overhead track equipment in this area going towards Ermelo is at 3 kilovolt DC. Moving across east again to the Kleinkorp area, we locate a P811 sleeper replacement machine, working kilometer 19 to 30 on the number 1 line as an initiative to upgrade the line to increase capacity to 26-ton coal trains. The plan is to lay 25,000 sleepers in this section during the shutdown. The machine is currently dealing with an uphill and a lot of ballast. We chat to track master Stuart Harrison for a heads up on his situation.
We're trying to do number 1 line first, which is the line we're on now. The line we're standing on is a number 3 line, which is the coal export line. But due to the high velocity of coal that they're now exporting, we're trying to upgrade the number 1 line as well to be used as well for export. We're trying to get to at least 1,500 sleepers a day. At this stage, we're not getting there. I think yesterday was 1,378. We want to get to 1,500 and more if we can. At this moment, it's a bit of an uphill battle here with the uphill and ballast. It's a lot, so we've got to get a machine, push the ballast down, and to help the machine get out over the top. We're nearly at the top, and then it's downhill from there for quite a way. So hopefully we can even maybe get to 1,800, even 2,000 sleepers, if things go well, if we can get over the hill.
Behind the machine follows a sleeper squaring machine, while team members hook staples back, securing the rails to the new sleepers. Just a few hundred meters back, the rails are being thermit welded after a turnout has been replaced. A few more kilometers east in the Blankpan area, several sets have been replaced, and a number of teams are working side by side as the old tracks are removed and thermit welders bond the new sets into the track. Track Inspector Nick Buertas brings us up to date.
Yeah, well, definitely we do reach our target. We start here on Monday morning when the shutdown starts. We start here with the crossover. There in the front at kilometer 35/8, we start with this crossover here, put in one of 12 set here on the number 1 line, and put in one of 12 set on the number 3 line in the front of it there. And now, as you can see, we almost finished. We're still waiting for the tamping machine to come and do the tamping here. So I think by tomorrow at the 1 o'clock, we will be finished here with her. Yeah, well, I'm very happy. Yeah. That crew, we did shutdowns in the past, so they know the urgency of a shutdown. And yeah, I'm very satisfied that the job is going well here. Yeah.
We stay with the scene for a while as the shadows get longer and the wind becomes icy in the short days of the South African high-veld winter. The next day we are greeted by sub-zero conditions in the windy Ermelo yard. In the foreground, wagons are assembled up to 100 long, each carrying 40 tons. In the distance, these wagons are assembled for various clients for the haul down to the coal export terminal in 200 wagon trains. An efficient yard is essential for the viability of the entire export initiatives of Transnet's clients. That is also why Transnet Capital Projects is engaged in upgrading infrastructure for future efficiencies. Here, teams are preparing the ground for a new set. Back at the C&D changeover yard, high-tension work is progressing well, and the site is visited by project management team members who are briefed on the current state of progress. Elsewhere in the yard, a tamper is bringing the track back to level after maintenance work has been done. The central traffic control in Ermelo resembles a museum, reflecting the change of technologies through the years. Nevertheless, here a vigilant high-tech eye is kept on all activities across the region, ensuring that permissions are authorized and access is granted to the various track segments that require work. More importantly, perhaps, is the safety function that CTC has in the coordination of trains, on-track equipment and logistics from one place to the next. All the time warning infrastructure personnel and others to watch out for such movements. This traffic control center is one of 3 such centers, which are linked to 1,900 signals and 870 sets of points, all allowing the bidirectional movements of trains on either track. Across the other side of the yard, routine electrical maintenance work is being carried out on overhead track equipment. Worker-friendly apparatus is utilized wherever possible. Here, a converted livestock truck provides a safe platform for servicing overhead changeovers. Here, maintenance teams are servicing insulators and other equipment with the use of a giraffe, an obvious nickname due to its long neck, giving access to overhead equipment on all sides of the track. Back at Blinkpan, a Unimat tamper is levelling all the sets we saw being replaced the day before. And at Van Dijksterif, more new sleepers are arriving for stockpiling. Here we see these sleepers joining hundreds of others, including the modified logger machines, used for loading and offloading the sleeper wagons. A few kilometers away, we find teams hard at work on the upgrade of the 6,6 kilovolt line to 11 kilovolts. Project manager Dani Potgieter tells us more.
I'm the project manager on this project. It consists of 11 kV line we built from Blinkpan right to Witbank. For the shutdown period, we arranged to do all the H-frames. That's what we see at the back. We de-energize the existing ones, replace it with a new H-frame, new transformers and new cables to the relay rooms. We start at Blinkpan on Monday. We finished that Koringfontein relay room. Then we went, Tuesday we went to Van Dijksterif. We do that H-frame, we energize it. And then we're busy with Vlak Hoogte now. And we're busy energizing this one, and then there's still 7 down the line we must still do. Yes, we find some challenges this morning and yesterday afternoon. During the SAT, they were shunting trains with sleepers up and down. So it was bothering us a bit. And in the morning, we battled to get our train crane here to erect the transformers and demolish the old ones. And our occupations in the morning arrive late. So we were ready this morning 2.5 hours late on an occupation. And now 6 o'clock, we must give the shutdown back. But I don't think it's going to be possible tonight to end. But they still got meetings every day, 12 o'clock. They sit with the steercom and they discuss what's the problems. So every morning I report to the discipline manager and he's report on the steercom. At Blinkpan, Ogies and Blackhill, I must upgrade the transformers also. From 6.6 to 11 kV, but it's from 500 kVA to 3 MVA transformers. So it's strong transformers right through the section. That's to prevent the breakage in the wires because all the wires is rotted on this stage. And if the wires break down, the signal standing and the train is standing. So you lose your tonnage down to reaches by. So we try to get all the wires in the air first. And then we start with the transformers at the back and replace them. No, we normally used to it. You know, you got your 11 kV, you got your 3 kV yard, your overhead track equipment, and then you got your 25 kV AC. So it's different voltages, but it's nearly the same volt. It's only a different voltages. The one is DC and one is AC. And the 11 kV only built for for your signal purposes. And many years ago it was for your stations and all that, for your station former and infrastructure, but there's nothing now. Nowadays it's only concentrate on the relay rooms and feeding arrangements to some places.
Day 7 of the shutdown finds us back up the line on another more southern leg that runs through the town of Bethel. This leg of the line has direct access to the petrochemicals from coal plant in Secunda. Sasol is a very important client for Transnet and a significant earner of foreign exchange for the South African economy. As with all other Transnet clients, it is essential for Transnet Freight Rail to keep the wheels rolling of hundreds of coal and chemical wagons to and from these sites all the time. Project manager Nico van der Merwe explains the start of the project.
Job is called Bessel loop lengthening, and the purpose of this is to enable 150 coal wagons to cross on the way from Ermelo to twist dry at Secunda where Sasol is loading their coal. The rush or the occupation and the 24 hours working for this is to enable Sasol at Secunda to get access to this line again. They must take a big detour now through Springs to get the chemicals in and out, and because of that it's need to be done within the short period.
Work here turned out to be a milestone of a challenge due to a sudden change of plan. Ermelo Depot Manager Tamara Mark explains what happened.
On Friday, 3 days before our shutdown, when I was putting the final touches on our depot integrated plan, I received a call that we had a derailment on this line. When the derailment occurred, I had to look at 160 meters rebuild, or to look at the current formation and where it stood and do 1.1 kilometers in the shortest time possible. Because it was close to the shutdown, what I had decided was that we'd rather take a little longer and give the line back to the customer in a perfect condition than do a small job just on a little piece of it. We had to adjust the use of our resources that we had planned for the shutdown. So we shifted around the teams on that night of the derailment and brought in one of our bigger teams and switched them over with the smaller teams that are supposed to be working on the other branch lines as well. The challenges on this site, when we tried to look at shortening the plan to open the line as soon as possible, was that in discussions with the project manager on the earthwork side, it was his original plan he presented to me was that he'd be able to fix 160 meters in 7 days, which is by Sunday. I had stretched his target and said, that's great, 160 meters by Sunday, but I want 1.1 kilometers by Sunday. And they worked a 24-hour shift in order to get me that 1.1 kilometers in 7 days, and it is done. The guys worked really hard. The track team has also been covering 250 meters every day in order to get this done.
Due to the technical upgrade of the old line, the old main line that was originally designed for 18 to 20 ton per axle load, we're going to rebuild that line formation complete and the track as well to accommodate 26 ton axle loads, and that's why the one line is now uplifted.
The 26 ton upgrade project entailed rehabilitation of the entire formation that lay alongside. One of the instructions that I had issued was that the quality of the compaction of all the layers would not be compromised. When we arrived here in the freezing cold that night, alongside that derailment site, we met under the tent and tried to put together a program that was going to get this line open as soon as possible with the highest standards of quality and safety. The amazing part for me was working with the team, under which I had to put under great pressure in order to get this done. Sasol is a really important client to us, so we worked really hard on this project to get it done really quickly and to the highest quality that we could do. The guys on site, as we're rounding up the project, still have their red eyes and long beards from their days and nights on this site.
Currently, the earthworks team finished their work the day before yesterday. It's now the per-way teams. There's more than 80 of these guys on site. There's on-track machines, a profiling machine and a tamping machine that's standing just outside the station waiting for this ballast to be offloaded, and that will all be profiled and in position by midday tomorrow, whereafter we'll check the line for safety, for completeness, for correctness, and hand it back to the client.
This job was actually scheduled for over a month. We're supposed to do it now in 8 days. We're working 14 hours a day, including traveling time. Yes, and because of the earthworks, they put us 2 days behind, but we catch up with them. We're busy on the 8 days now, busy, and we will probably finish tomorrow 1800 hours.
Jobs what I've got on the shutdown, I've got 13 diesels running on the Ermelo side. I've got eight diesels running on the Ugi side. I've got 6 crews on the Ugis, crew 6, and I've got on the Ermelo side, I've got 14. My section starts from Ermelo right up to Witbank, all the organising, and there's times that they ask me to assist on the freight side also, and that's what I also do, freight Richards Bay.
All I can say is that Transnet Capital Projects, the RME construction team worked here now for 9 days, 24 hours around the clock, and they've done a hell of a lot of work here in a very short time, and a good job, and they must all be complimented on what they've done here. Without them, it wouldn't have been successful.
Day 9 of the shutdown brings us to Richards Bay, where on the berm wall we find the same type of overhead electrical maintenance work taking place. Richards Bay is on the warm Agulhas ocean current, and so is very tropical and humid, requiring that all infrastructure, especially steel, be meticulously protected. During a shift change period, while some staff are making their way to the transport points, we find new turnouts have been laid and crew preparing to weld them in place. Future expansion has been prepared for, with the laying of foundation for extra tracks. A few hundred meters away, we get a good view of clients' ships docked at the coal terminal quayside, all loading their vital cargo before setting out on the high seas. This terminal is South Africa's second largest earner of foreign exchange after gold. Over here, it seems as if the indigenous primates have their own track inspectors. Further up the track, near the road bridge, more ground foundation and drainage work is underway for another track to run alongside as it enters the Richards Bay yard. On day 10 of the shutdown, we visit the Ulundi area of KwaZulu-Natal. Here work is underway connecting new Wust Alpine track switches to recently installed 1:20 sets. Electrical, wiring controls, hydraulics, as well as track welding are all underway. Frans Venter tells us what is happening.
We are at Ulundi today, and we started with this points at CTL in RBCT at the near coal terminal, and we did other sets on the other side of Ulundi, Ilangakazi and Nzamanzi. Right. So all the places where we installed this point. So our main purpose is to install this VAE points for VAE, and this is the second last set of points we're doing. on the shutdown. We already did 7 of them, and this is the last 2 to do the points, installation of the points, the hydraulics, the electrical part, and the testing and commissioning of the points,
Right.
until it's finished to open the line. So we went quite well. We didn't have big problems. We carry on quite well.
We took time out to chat to one of the skilled workers on site, welder Richard Zwane.
My job description is to join the sets, the new sets that they building. They come in 2 pieces, and then we join them outside of the track by terminating welding. And then from there, there's a big machine is taking the sets inside the track. When it's inside the tracks, they lift it up straight and temp it to be strong, the stones to be so that it can be strong enough and level. And then from there, when it is inside the track, we do re-weld them, joining with a straight line. And then we grind and x-ray it, the joints where we have welded. And then if everything is smooth, then everything is passed, and then it means that the job is passed, everything has passed clean. But if there is a joint which is not clear inside, the X-ray catches that, and then we have to cut it out and re-weld it.
Just a few hundred meters away, we see another worker preparing to use survey-type equipment that is mounted on a dolly for the tracks. We spontaneously ask him what the device is for and what does he do with it.
This one, we call it a dump 11. So this one, I'm going to set it to 0. That machine is going to stand on the highest point of the old track. And as I'm all sitting here on the highest point, so I have to get 0 for that machine, for lifting, and 0 for lining, so that the new track is going to lift it up according to this dump 11. I'm going to use this remote to just lift on that machine. The only thing that is going to do is going to just temp inside the cab. I'm the one who's going to do the lifting and the lining of the machine. As soon as the machine comes forward, that measuring trolley, it measures what must I do, what must I lift it up, or what must I slow. Then I just, as it comes forward, then I lift, then I stop. As soon as it comes forward, I lift, then I stop, until it gets here.
Just a small adjustment?
Yeah, that's small adjustment.
Nearby we see a desec machine standing at the side of the tracks. We have obviously missed seeing it in action, as it would have lifted the entire turnout set from the side of the track to its final position on the middle of the track. Our next port of call is at the eastern side of Tunnel 8A, where we find small cement mixers preparing a special medium for work inside the tunnel. The tunnel requires that 14 precast concrete slabs, which support the rail directly, be replaced. The slabs are already in place, as we see how contractors are applying a special grouting to bond the slabs to the floor. Tunnel 8A is one of 37 concrete line tunnels on the coal line, which run for a combined length of 44 kilometers. The coal line also required that many bridges be built over the years, right through the deepest rural areas. Almost every bridge in KwaZulu-Natal is followed by a tunnel, and vice versa. Here we see tunnels 16A and B. In total, more than 270 bridges have been constructed for the line. Altogether, 5 1:20 sets are scheduled to be replaced in the Richards Bay depot area. Here, a set has just been replaced in the Ilanga area. The voltage from Ermelo to Richards Bay is 25 kilovolts AC, and 15 AC substations are spread along this section. On a bridge in Nchamanzi, we come across an infra team preparing to replace a rail section. It is 1600 hours, and they have just been given permission to start their work. In a traditionally male-dominated culture, we asked female team leader Dudu for information about their task and what it's like working with the men.
Okay, today we're just removing the last cutouts. We've been removing all the cutouts from the 23rd of May, working from Ulundi up until Makwezini. Today we're here at Nchamanzi, Ngoloti.
Great.
2 stations with between. Yeah, the guys do listen to me. I've been appointed 2 years back. It's been great working with them. Some days up and downs they always happen, but hey, we're working nicely with the guys. And then there are days where we struggle with the occupations, the boots, everything, but we cross over those bridges. It's something that happens every day. It can't be smooth every day. I wish this thing ends today and now. Your long hours, they're killing us. Yeah. And the targets, you cannot go home nicely when you never meet your targets. So every day you have to meet your targets.
One of the more scenic spots in this area is the grand, curvaceous Mfulozi River. Here, the longest bridge, and 57 meters high, was built to carry both tracks over the valley and straight into the mountain. The tracks here are under 24-hour security surveillance. In some areas, mounted security personnel are effectively utilized as they can easily cover large distances across rugged terrain in a matter of seconds. There are many beautiful little spots across this landscape. Here we get a bird's eye view across a very hazy landscape. Looking carefully in the distance, we can spot 4 bridges lacing across the rural valleys. Remarkably, there are no level crossings on the entire line. On day 15 in the Ulundi area, we come across a via car uplifting old rails. We spend a few minutes watching the way it's done. few hundred meters away, a huge contingent of track workers prepare themselves for handling very long rail segments in a traditional hand tool fashion. We took this opportunity to speak with Richards Bay Depot engineer, Pabelelo Nkwe.
We are currently in the area of Ulundi. We are just on the southern side of our yard here at Ulundi. We are at kilometer 109. This is where the via car will be offloading the rails that were picked up at kilometer 105. What you see here in the background is the teams from the TCP side that were contracted to come and help us and do the work on the via car, on the rail replacement. So what they are currently doing now, they are basically just doing some pre-planning for or sort of creating a space for the rails that will be offloaded later on. I'm actually coordinating the shutdown for my section for the Richards Bay depot, and I'm also looking after the safety of our people for the whole section, including the contractors themselves. So I'm looking at that aspect of safety, and I'm also looking obviously at ensuring that we actually meet our targets also. Basically, the shut, as it is called, the shutdown, it is actually to ensure that we do sort of an overhaul maintenance. We do the in-depth maintenance in our equipment, in our infrastructure. So that actually basically gives us an opportunity for us to look at some of the activities that we could not do with the normal running of trains. So basically there's quite a number of projects that we are currently doing, and some is from low intensive to high intensive type of maintenance. And this shutdown actually have given us that opportunity to be able to execute some of the projects that we wanted to achieve. Yes, I must say yes, having a 20-day shut, because this is an opportunity that only comes once in a year, and if you are given such an opportunity, you would obviously be happy about it. But there's a lot of things that comes with it. One of the things that I can say, about the shut, the 20-day shut, is that, well, it actually ensures that you cover a wide scope, a wide range of activities. You actually increase your scope of some of your activities. For example, there are some targets that we have increased that were actually previously planned for the 10-day shut. So some of them we have now increased some of the sections, the kilometers that needs to be covered, and that actually give us an opportunity to cover most of the stuff that we wouldn't have covered if we did the 10-day shut. But I must also mention that, like I said, it actually comes with a proper intensive planning, the 20-day shut. You need to bring in more resources. You need to ensure that we've got all the materials on time, which is actually basically one of the challenges that we have in the environment that we were living with. Yes, we've put a plan in place in terms of, and the processes in place in terms of reporting any issue that needs to be escalated, that cannot be handled at a particular level. So basically what we have, we've got a team on the MIS side, Management Information System side, that actually collects that particular data and logs it. But what normally happens, so if there's an incident or there's a delay in a particular project, and one at a particular level cannot be able to handle, it needs to be escalated within 1 hour. And then if that doesn't happen, that obviously is going to have an impact, because it's an issue that needs to be escalated. But once that is escalated, if one at a particular level, I'll talk from the level of your technical officer at the project site, if he cannot be able to handle issues at his site, he must immediately report that to his maintenance manager or project manager. And the project manager must now look into the problem and see if he can be able to handle that within 1 hour. Now, if he can't do that, he must actually escalate that to the depot engineer, which is now, it must be relayed to me, that information. And I must also see that we try and level out all the issues that we have at my level. And if I can't handle that, then I will have to also escalate it to my infra manager, up until your chief engineer, up until your GM. Yeah. So that's the process that we have.
The next day, day 16 of the shutdown, we drop into Ermelo one more time to ask Gerry Kutsia about the project to upgrade the switching arrangement for the C&D changeover yards.
Basically, this project, the purpose of the project is that we have installed what we call additional overhead feeder lines to the C yard and to the D yard in Ermelo yard. So behind us actually is the structure feeding the C and D yard. And then at the same time, we've also installed additional feeders to the changeover yard, which means that in a case of a fault in C yard or D yard or in a changeover yard, we will be able to isolate the fault separately from the rest of the yard. Currently, or then before, it wasn't the case. It is a fault, everything trips out and everything comes to a standstill. Now, the shutdown period allows us that we use the opportunity of the shutdown period to do as much work as we could. Extra resources was also put in, and then we shortened the construction period from the initial planned date of completion date of July 2015 until the end of the year of 2011, which means there's a 4-year reduction in the completion period of the project. At the same time, we managed to do 90% of the work in 14 days of the shutdown until we stand today. I think it was proper planning, good planning, and at the same time additional resources was brought in from other places in the country to maximize the shutdown period to the benefit of Transnet in the end. So at the end of this project, Transnet should have the benefit of minimizing train delays in the yard because of this project. Yeah, what we did, we plan every day for the next day on a day-to-day basis in terms of energizing of equipment and de-energizing of equipment, making staff aware of the changes on the switching diagrams, and then also making staff aware of the new switching points where they are. All in all, it was quite logistical in the end, but we managed to do it.
A few hundred meters away, we're just in time to observe a safety induction session taking place for these track workers who are about to resume replacing tracks in the yard.
Remember, I'm part of R&D, so nothing changes. You know your job very well. Always just do it safe.
Workers of all disciplines and qualifications are included in the safety talk, and any questions or misunderstandings are ironed out, even conversing one-to-one in each other's mother tongue if necessary. Sustaining this practice has enabled the shutdown to achieve remarkable successes with low incident rates so far. Moving 12 kilometers southeast, we find a small team carrying out ultrasonic X-ray testing on the tracks near Camden. Testing on foot like this for smaller segments of the track is a simpler option than managing on-track machinery. This team is very mobile and can get off the track and back on again at a moment's notice. Ultrasonic X-ray testing checks the rail for any cracks, defects or inconsistencies in its metallurgical steel structure. A few kilometers further southeast, a team is welding up rails into track where they've been replaced. Some distance further down the track, we stop at the Overval Substation. This is another one of the 15 substations on the 25 kilovolt section to Richards Bay. The installed capacity of the entire coal line is 630 megavolt amps, which is regulated by a computerized maximum demand system to ensure an efficient distribution of power. The landscape rises imperceptibly, and we find the track cutting a huge trench into the hill. This is the western side of the Overval Tunnel, one of the longest tunnels on the line at 3.9 kilometers long. Coincidentally, we find members of the Capital Projects team surveying progress, so we make use of the opportunity to get an update from Project Director Ndi Lepaupau.
I think firstly I must just say that this has been a very great opportunity for us from a capital program execution perspective in terms of making sure that a lot of our programs were actually running behind in terms of, in ranges of 3 to 5 years, that we've just managed to bring them back, from 2017. Some of them will manage to finish them by next year, because specifically of the extended shut of 20 days. I think from a capital program perspective, I think that this has been a very big advantage, and we've managed to do quite a lot of projects which actually, even after the shut, the 20-day shut, will actually there will be so much visible benefits in terms of, if I may just mention one or two projects like the Dumbi feeder cable project that will be able to make sure that we eliminate a lot of problems that operations was having, in terms of most of the times not having enough power, and sometimes the train gets stuck there and it cannot take off. I think first of all, credit is due to TFR team in particular. If you look at the operation, the regional operation executive, which is Fuzile Magwa, and his counterpart being the GM of infrastructure at TFR, which is Caesar Mtetwa, together with his chief engineer, Brian Monakali. Of course, not to forget the likes of Velem case, from the capital program. But of course, from my team, from TCP perspective, we have received so much support from my GM, which is Rudy Basson, and then my team members, and the shutdown manager that I had appointed, which is Dave Butler. This guy has been working throughout, and for the full 3 weeks has been out of his boundaries, been along the coal line. Well, I think some of the hiccups we had was, I can say, in terms of our OHTE projects that they've just mentioned just now, in terms of the upgrade of the 6.6 to 11 kV project up from Blackburn to Ochis, where in particular of late we realized that I think we were lagging behind by about 3 or 4%. So we do have some of the projects that we have managed to complete ahead of schedule. So we are moving teams from one side to another to make sure that come Friday or Saturday we should be right on track. We had an additional project which was not part of the shutdown, which is the Bethel loop lengthening. We had a derailment, and there was an urgent work which had to be done so that we can have that project opened in time, so that we can have the train from Sasol, in terms of what they call the white mamba that takes all the chemicals all the way down to Richards Bay. But those trains had to be to run. We were given only a week. And what we have done there, the team, they did splendid work, a job, incredible job. Within a very short space of time, they managed to do a 1.2 kilometer trek, which normally under any normal circumstances, it takes about 30 days. That's enormous. The team from the MLO depot, Tamara and other people. We had one of the experienced project manager there, being Nico van der Merwe, and he worked very closely, very well with the RME team, and everybody just came as a unit, and we managed to pull it out. In 9 days. You must just understand that it's unheard of. In 9 days, we managed to pull out a 1.2 kilometer, which is normally done in 30 days. So, excellent. That is incredible.
Things are looking unusually relaxed here. So we asked one of the workers what is going on. He tells us that work has stopped due to a general power failure in their area.
You will never be able to catch it up. We moved everything off the line, so when the power eventually comes back, we have to just carry on.
We make an attempt to see what work has been done in the tunnel and encounter many of the workers making use of the power outage to walk outside to take a lunch break. We follow an access road to the top of the hill that the tunnel cuts through. And in the distance we can see the track as it exits on the other side and makes its way through a wide cutting. At Sheepmoor we find new and old sleepers stockpiled. This siding is one of the many that is used to distribute resources throughout the shutdown. The day ends with a beautiful African sunset, providing a spectacular highlight to the tracks running dead straight into the distance near Piet Retief. The next morning on the road out of Piet Retief, we encounter the tracks at a bridge over the Swartwater River. Shortly thereafter, at Commondale, a large crew is busy pulling out the ballast over a mud hole. From time to time, if drainage is not 100% effective, water will collect and cause the rising and mixing of the foundation layer into the ballast. The ballast always needs to sit on top of a firm foundation, so maintenance is done to separate and reset the foundation and ballast. This type of occurrence is usually in isolated patches, so a manual process is chosen to do the work. In order to meet deadlines, many teams need to work together in close quarters. The camera gives us an idea of how this work is done. On the way to Confidence, we get a nice visual of one of the curved bridges with 11 spans. It is one of the 137 bridges totaling 16.3 kilometers. We realize we are approaching our destination where sleeper replacement is taking place because we find a tamper filling and leveling the track to the proper specification after the sleeper replacement machine has passed this way. Next, we find a team fastening the track to new sleepers just replaced. More or less at the same time, a ballast regulator is filling in the ballast between the sleepers. At the same time, it is setting the correct slope for the ballast to support itself and the track. While it may be assumed that the track is always closed during a shutdown, it must still support traffic moving logistics to and from work sites and stockpiles. As the rain pelts down again, this loco driver sounds his horn every few seconds to warn all workers to be aware of his presence. Finally, we catch up to the P190 sleeper replacement machine, progressing well. We asked contract supervisor Errol Davidson to give us a description of the machine and what logistics are involved.
Look, it's a very sophisticated machine and it's very impressive. I mean, if you don't know the machine and you come and stand here, you can actually see that the thing is doing a brilliant job, according to me. And I think the standard and the quality that we try and leave behind is very high. And then what I can also add is that the P190 is actually a machine that replaces sleepers, but you also have many functions behind it, as fastening of the track, the regulating of the ballast, and then tamping the track back to standard, which is obviously got to be in a B standard with the first machine. And our last machine, which is a final machine, leaves the track in an A standard, which is our goal at this stage. Look, the best is to have 3 sets of 16 trucks plus the runner, so that we have a load on our machine busy replacing. Then there should be one ready for the next shift, which is in this case a day and a night shift. And that gives then the contractor loading the sleepers or the loggers chance to then prepare the third load, so that you have a complete rotation system. So that at no time the machine will wait for sleepers from the feeding system or them waiting for us to give them sleepers for them then to offload and reload. At this stage they're bringing them in from Hlungwana side, which is on the correct side for the feeding process of the machine. They're not coming from the rear end, they're coming from the front end, which makes the changeover, meaning that taking the old sleepers away and putting the new sleepers on the load again, that just makes it much more easier for the process, so that can be done at a quicker pace then basically. Those guys are using 4 loggers at this stage, so it takes them about 4 hours plus minus. But that excludes now the shunting process. That can be a bit of a slop or a problem at times. But under normal conditions, that should take them not more than 5 hours. Look, it takes normally an hour on a load, the offloading and the onloading. So that depends on the logger operator, obviously, if they are adequate or fast enough to be able to do that. But it takes about an hour. And if it goes well under conditions, that only helps with the track conditions, obviously. We can put this load in 4 hours if all goes smoothly. So it's 2,560 sleepers that we then now re-sleeper with one load like this. And on this spacing, it's 650 millimeter spacing. So you're talking about 1540 per kilometer sleepers, while you're doing close on 2 Ks, 1.8 kilometers basically. Well, it's very important to keep the standard of the railway line to such an extent that we can run trains. And it all goes about an income for Transnet Freight Rail. So if you don't do maintenance on that, obviously the trains won't be running as smooth as they do. And that won't give Transnet Freight Rail an income. And if there are no re-sleepering done, then we won't be in the business either.
Also meeting us on site was Vryheid depot engineer Neil Steyn. We asked him for an update on the project that has almost reached its conclusion.
The challenges specifically on the P190, in the planning stage already, we had some challenges in the sense of the NZ wagons and the sleepers, just the logistics around ranging those to get from all the different manufacturing sites throughout South Africa, to get them here on time was a logistical nightmare. We must say that the TCC and the SCS, they really came to the party in getting everything here on time. That was on the planning side. On the execution side, we've had some challenges in the sense of the shunters and the section managers. Their schedules were not aligned with the train drivers and their assistants. So you would have train drivers here and you wouldn't have a shunter or a section manager. So those were some of the challenges we had just on the execution side. We did speak to the area manager, and he assisted us in realigning their schedules so that we were able to bring the operations together again. A lot of our work, especially on the coal line, has to take place on the deviations. We visited the Ulundi deviation this morning. Of the work there can only be done on a double line occupation day, which is only granted once a month. So the challenge there is to get occupation time. So with a shutdown, you are able to work there for the full 10 days, which really improves our opportunities of getting the work done there, the maintenance work, and getting that done there. Well, your track deteriorates very rapidly. Your faults go up, so you basically beating fires the whole time and not doing preventative maintenance, which is a huge challenge for infra. Okay, in general in the shutdown, the project we visited this morning, the Ulundi backup feeder, They've now finished replacing or installing 26 kilometers of backup feeder, which was a huge benefit for us. We will now hopefully be able to run more trains through the Dumbi at once than having to let one train go through at a time. So that'll improve the efficiency on the Dumbi itself.
Workers here at Dumbi are attaching terminating fixtures to the end of the high voltage feeder line. Portable hydraulic crimp-on jaws are used in the field to great success. Further back, other workers are fitting new insulators. These insulators replace the traditional ceramic ones, which are vulnerable to vandalism. The new insulators are made from pliable components so that they cannot be fractured or chipped from flying stones or other objects. The insulators are used both on the feeder line as well as the overhead track equipment support structures. Neil further explains progress on the sleepers and also updates us on the safety topic.
The sleepers, I think in the shutdown in total for the whole coal line was planned 65,000 sleepers. If we get our last 19,000th one in, then we would be coming close to that 65,000 sleepers. Just on Vryheid Depot alone, we're running in the region of about 1,100 meals per day that we need to provide. Obviously some machines move over from other depots, so then your quantities go up or down. But I think Richards Bay is in the region of that as well. I think Ermelo is possibly almost double that amount. So that just gives you an idea of the logistics of just the meals that need to be provided. We've had to go through an induction. Everyone who has come onto the site has been inducted, whether it's private person coming onto site to visit, contractors, even our own staff, everyone has gone through an induction. And that's part of the badge that you'll see, that you were issued once you had gone through an induction. And that alone, I think, was in the region of 5,000 badges that we had to arrange. That's just some of the logistics that a person that's not directly coupled to the shutdown, but which encourages the employees and also creates a safe environment, or encourages a safe environment in which to work in. I think there were two incidents on the Vryheid depot, which basically was employees not adhering to the safety talks or the safety rules. And that has led to two incidents which we have had to investigate, and we've taken the corrective actions required for those two incidents.
The next day we drop in at the substation at Dassishoogte near Vryheid. While the standby power batteries are being replaced, electrical maintenance teams are servicing, rewiring and upgrading certain components. On-the-job training and mentoring is also in place while the work is being executed. An hour later, we call into the Vryheid yard to find track workers preparing the old track to be replaced with new sections. Neil Steyn finds some points of interest in the track that he will no doubt take up with relevant team members at a later time. Lastly, a few kilometers away we visit a ballast screener that is progressing with renewal work in its section. Finally, we leave the last words to Neil Steyn, who sums up the thoughts of many of his colleagues.
First of all, I'd like to thank management for the opportunity for a 20-day shutdown. It's been a huge challenge from our side, but we've seen the benefits from it as well. Just to all the role players, thanks very much for coming to the party. It's been a huge challenge getting all the logistics around it. This is, I think, the first time, possibly within Transnet, that we have had a 20-day shutdown. So yes, it's been a learning curve for the coal line, and I think it's going to be a challenge for any other region that wants to tackle a 20-day shutdown. But yes, thanks very much for that opportunity.
One can safely say that the coal line is in a much better condition after such a successful shutdown. This effective focus of Transnet Freight Rail's energies will pay off immediately and well into the future, ensuring that all of its customers can transport even more of their highly valuable cargo in massive trains to the Richards Bay Coal Terminal, thereby earning for themselves and all involved world-class business reputations, as well as highly valuable foreign currency for their entire nation.
Trains run on track, which is the infrastructure. That is a mechanical pathway which needs to be maintained regularly. So in this country, we have got a history of not refurbishing our rail track for quite some time, from the 90s till 2004. So we're sitting with a backlog of unrenewed infrastructure. If it was a normal maintenance, it would have been refurbished normally during those years. But that build-up has put us on the back. We've got a backlog. So shuts present an opportunity for us to do the renewal of our network, a lot in bulk and in bigger amounts, as opposed to occupations which happen on very short times. So shuts present that opportunity for us to renew a bigger section of our network.
First and foremost, the shutdown is a huge sacrifice that the company makes. In the case of the coal line, it means we sacrifice R500 million of profit for the 20 days that we shut. So, a huge investment. That is even before the actual cost of doing the maintenance, the sleepers, the people, etc. That's separate, Second, so it's something that we consider very carefully. It's something that we have to ensure that it gives us a value, longer term, more than R500 million per annum. Moving on from that, a lot of customers do also have to shut down their own operations. They use that time for maintenance as well, but in some cases they literally have to be on leave, right, during the shutdown. So the impact is enormous. Okay, so it's something that we have to make sure that it will give value to ourselves and give value to our customers and everyone in the supply chain, given the nationwide impact that our shutdown tends to have. So it's something that we consider very carefully, communicate well ahead of time, and ensure that when we open, we almost recover some of the losses, some of the tons not moved during the shutdown. So it's something absolutely important for us.
As far as Transnet's client, or specifically TFR's clients, external customers, I want to give the assurance as a chief engineer of the region that the investment that we've made over the 20 days, the investment they have made over the 20 days, because they've also invested by sacrificing 20 days of their production being transported. So that investment they've made is paying back and is going to pay back a lot in the medium to longer term. All the projects that were done during the shut were targeted to the problem areas. Firstly, to address areas that are giving us safety-related challenges, okay, such as derailments and so on, and also to address the failures, the chronic failures that we've had in our systems. So a bigger portion of these projects were targeted in those projects to ensure that we've got less failures
There are significant benefits in operating with a 10-day shutdown or a 20-day shutdown during the year. It gives us an opportunity to access the infrastructure where otherwise we wouldn't have had occupation. The benefits include improving the reliability and the availability of our infrastructure, raising the condition of the infrastructure in terms of quality, ensuring that we've got quality equipment installed, ensuring that problematic equipment is removed and replaced with suitable materials and equipment. It reduces our propensity for defects and component failures, our large-scale material replacements. Where we've got copper, we reduce our risk of copper theft, where we're able to replace copper with stainless steel technologies, in particular on the OHTE side. It reduces our risk of hookups and derailments, where we are able to renew our infrastructure on a large scale on-face replacements, eliminate fatigue and defective components. It reduces our train delays. It reduces our CTC authorizations, where we are able to improve the condition of our signaling infrastructure. We can remove speed restrictions. We can improve the weather resistance of our infrastructure, where we are able to install lightning protection equipment. We can improve our compliance levels. In particular, the substation testing is a key part of that. And we can reduce our risk of theft and vandalism, where we have been able to install devices which mitigate against theft and vandalism.
The key thing about this shut is firstly the planning. Okay, so in fact, in any shutdown, if your planning is not done properly, so the chances are that you're going to fail. So the planning for this shutdown was so intensive. That was one area of improvement that we have for this coal line shutdown compared to the previous shutdown. As I've said, we've just started recently to having coal line shutdowns, so we are still in the learning phase. But the key learning was on the planning side, that we have our planning done in details, and I think we achieved that. This year we had a safety plan, we had a security plan in terms of ensuring that the thieves don't come in and steal whilst we're working, because substations are off and so on, which brings an opportunity for thieves to come and steal copper. So we had that plan in place. We also had a detailed project plan showing what work will be done and by when, and also the project tracking, which we had right throughout the coal line shutdown. So it's a planning and also tight execution, whereby we are following up each and every day. What have we done the previous day? What were the hiccups? How can we address them? So I think from that point of view, that made it the coal line shutdown a success.
We had, on the infrastructure maintenance side, 92 projects. So we're quite pleased with the overall result. A large proportion of those projects were completed in excess of the targets, which we're pleased with. There were some projects which we didn't quite meet the targets, but we developed action plans shortly after the shutdown to ensure completion of those projects, making use of the double line occupations within the next month or two after the shutdown to close out those projects.
What made it special this year was that it was double the amount of time that we normally have. Instead of being 10 days, it was over a 20-day period. Meaning that the amount of resources that were involved were huge compared to standard. And also we're having projects right throughout the coal line, from Black Hill through to MLO, through Piet Retief, through Vryheid, and all the way up to Richards Bay. With so many contractors involved, thousands of people that were involved in the shut.
There were many projects which did challenge us across the spectrum of production activities, especially the large machinery contracts, the resleeping program. Getting material on site in time was a challenge for us. We did manage to fast-track material delivery, especially for the sleepers, which was a key item. We did have a lot of sleepers not quite arriving in time, but we made plans to ensure that logistically we were ready to rotate empty wagons with loaded wagons to transship the discarded FY sleepers and to re-equip the NZ wagons with new PY sleepers, which were eventually delivered just in time for our operation. We were beset with some delays, which we managed to resolve on the fly, as it were, to ensure that we meet our production targets.
And also, we didn't have any major or serious safety incidents. We did have minor injuries on duty during the shut, which were very few, considering the length of the shutdown, the amount of activity involved, and the hazards involved. But one is too many. So going forward, we are targeting zero always, no injury on duty during the shutdown.
With a project of this size, ensuring that all stakeholders are aware of their responsibilities was key to ensuring that we meet our targets across the logistical spectrum, especially networking with our operations colleagues, making sure locomotives and crews were available for bringing in material was a significant factor. Keeping people positive naturally is a great boost to a project of this nature. And also maintaining the momentum throughout the shutdown. I continued with a daily teleconference because of the geographical spread of the project.
What was a highlight to me was a passion that I was noticing from the people on the ground as I was visiting the shutdown sites. And you could sense that people are doing this with excitement. They are passionate about what they are doing, and they wanted to make sure that we do it right. And in most of cases, whereby we are behind on schedule. You remember, this is a 20-day shut, so we track daily performance. So they will be angry about that, and we'll have a telecons to track where we are over what did you do over the past days, and you could sense from the employees and management that they are not happy if they are behind on program. So that was that passion of saying we agreed that we're going to execute so much. So we want by the end of the shut to be able to look back and say we have done so much. And also that passion is being driven by the fact that the employees and the management team, they know why we're doing the shut, because we had a lot of problems within the core line which are related to the poor reliability and availability of the infrastructure. So therefore, the core line was one of the major inputs into assisting us to improve the situation through replacing our old infrastructure, through doing intensive maintenance, and also through executing some of the capital projects that are eliminating the bottlenecks. So we all knew what is the stake, what was the overall objective of having the shut. So noticing that passion on site was really encouraging to me. And also the safety conscious that I was sensing, when I was on shutdown sites. And I'm comparing this to the previous shutdown that we had. Very, very different this year.
I must say, looking at the number of incidents before the shut and after, there was a significant drop. In particular, the electrical failures that used to affect operation in the MLO area. There was a drop on that. There's a very much improvement on the signal. Still long way to go, but the fact that we're moving away from the west base to a better base, it needs to be recognized in that way. We spent about 178 million on this shut, which by far it's the biggest amount we've ever spent at one go. But that's what we need. We need to move more freight. We need a healthier network. And the recent shut, in my view, and I gave the feedback to Brian. This was relatively a lot better than what we saw in the previous years.
We have since the shutdown have improved output, tons transported by 17% in the first 3 months of the shutdown. We hope that on the fourth month we would have improved output by 21% overall. So the shutdown is a very important activity for us to move at very high tempos.
our employees really work tirelessly. I'm talking about infra workers, track masters, traction linesmen, all categories of our employees. They worked very hard during the shut. They gave their all, and they worked excessive hours, and we really appreciate that. It was the first time that we've had this. We didn't know how it's gonna go, but all the employees, they took it both hands and say, we're gonna make it happen. We want the success. We want to achieve more than 100% execution safely.
I think overall I'm very positive about the outcomes of the shutdown. It was a great opportunity for us to work together as a team across all departments, not only from a multidisciplinary point of view, but in terms of incorporating other stakeholders from central office. The on-track machinery contractors were a key role player in the shutdown. And obviously our colleagues on the operations side assisting us with locomotives and crews to run our works trains was I think a great outcome. I'm quite positive about how we managed to resolve some problems which we experienced early on. And I think in management we all maintained a good level of visibility on site. The involvement from all levels of management was good. Everyone remained positive. Problems were resolved timeously and promptly. And I think we're looking forward to the next shutdown.
I would like to express some gratitude and sort of words of appreciation to a number of stakeholders or people that really made this shutdown a success. Firstly, I would like to thank my manager, the general manager, Sizam Teto, for empowering my team by giving us all the resources that we need to execute the shutdown and support and actually giving us the space to go out there and execute. So that support I really appreciate. And also I would like to special thanks to the regional operating executive, who is my customer, Fuzile Magwa, and his assistant Hendrik Kutsier, for them, approving that we have a 20-day shutdown, and also for the support that they gave us during the shutdown in terms of making sure that the train drivers are there to drive the material trains, material that needs to be on shutdown site so that we can execute the work. And throughout the shutdown, we've been getting support from the team. We really appreciate that. And also I would like to thank Transnet Capital Projects now, under the leadership of Ndicheni Lipau as a project director of TCP, for the execution, successful execution of the capital projects during the shutdown. And also the RME, our maintenance partner, who's also part of TCP, under the leadership of Felix Ndlovu and the entire team. Really like to say thank you for their support throughout the execution of the maintenance projects. And also Albert Links and his team under the division called TCC, for assisting us with all the logistics in terms of making sure that we get the material on site, the rail and the sleepers and so on. So the support I also appreciate. And also the supply chain services under Tamsang Giana, specifically Val Naidu, for their support in ensuring that the material is ordered and is delivered on site. And the resource management from the point of view of ensuring that the locomotives that we need to drive or to pull our material trains to where we need. This is now Robert Mukansi and Bernard Mashaba. I really appreciate their support throughout the shutdown. And the security team under Jan Faltain for ensuring that his team looks after our infrastructure to make sure that there's no theft during the shutdown. And the safety team under Selvan Subarmani. Specifically, the person I would like to mention is Pilani Ndlovu, the late Pilani Ndlovu, who put together a safety plan for the shutdown. But sadly, first or second day of the shutdown, he passed away through an accident as he was with the family. May his soul rest in peace. And also like to thank my colleague Johan van Aert and his special central office team of specialists and standards for assisting with making sure that we've got all the machines that we need, all the plans that we have are actually sound and they're actually targeted to the right problems. Also appreciate that support and all the contractors that were involved in the shutdown. And lastly, I would like to thank my entire infrastructure team, co-line infrastructure team, under the infra manager Jonathan Duvel, Tamara Mark, the depot engineer, Neil Stein, the depot engineer, Papa Lulongwe, the depot engineer, and their entire teams. I would like to say thank you guys. You did a great job, and let's do it again in the coming year.
I wish to acknowledge the sterling work that the engineers, the infrastructure colleagues, in the way in which they have managed the shutdown and the professional way in which they have planned it and executed it. I also do wish to acknowledge as well that operations, section managers, train crews, and the CTC play an enormous role during this period. The railway line doesn't actually close, it just runs different trains. And these are specialized trains, and they are mostly driven by the supervisors, the skilled people who come to work to ensure that these trains run and run safely. So an enormous amount of work is done by operations of the CTC to ensure that the shutdown is executed successfully. So I wish to acknowledge those people and the sacrifices that they have made to ensuring that these shutdowns are done and done well, on time and safely. On top of that, obviously I would like to acknowledge that our executive committee that gave us ultimately the permission to sacrifice R500 million worth of profit for a long-term benefit, for a safer railway, for a much more efficient system, and for the future of the country, essentially, to ensure that the infrastructure of the country is in tip-top condition for generations to come.
No, I must say to everyone that was involved in the shut, and a job well done, and it's nice to see that after a shut there is an improvement beyond that. Though it's not a major improvement, but it shows that the shut brought in what we wanted it to bring in. We still have a lot of rail to replace. We have old rails that are there that are breaking and derailing our trains. The quicker we do this, the better. And same thing with the refurbishment of our signal systems that has got obsolete spares that needs to be replaced with the new parts. Same thing, we've got an extensive work that we need to do. Shuts are the opportunity to do a lot of that. And I'm hoping that the team next year, they're going to even beat the record for this year for the shut. And thanks to Brian and the team and everyone that was involved in the shut planning. And the central office, in particular, and Van Aert's team that assisted in the planning of the shut and the execution of the shut. Thank you.